On the topic of riding the wave of new frontier technologies in the pursuit of new job opportunities, I am pleased to invite our panel who will share with us on how, especially during the current pandemic, deep tech startups and innovation are driving the creation of new jobs and contributing to Singapore's smart nation aspirations. At the same time, they will also be revealing more about the types of talent profiles needed to propel their businesses further. Moderating this session, please welcome Victor Tan, Director of Venture Investing, SGInnovate. And joining him as our esteemed panelists, we have Associate Professor Ang Wei Tek, Rehabilitation Research Institute of Singapore, NTU. Gary Low, Chairman and Founder, DiMuto. Grace Chia, co-founder, BeeX Autonomous Systems. And James Fu, Director of Technology, Motional. Victor, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the first panel session of the day to kind of launch, the new frontier. And I'm super happy to have with us four speakers who are here to share a bit more about their journey, and also about kind of like what you're looking for in terms of skill sets and talent within Singapore. So quickly to share the background of the session, right? I think Singapore Smart Nation Drive has been fueling jobs within the deep tech sector, and there's been a growing focus on deep tech skill sets as we can be seen across all industries. And even in the face of this current pandemic, tech startups continue to be on the lookout for good tech talent who can propel their businesses further. So join us today, as we gain insights from deep tech innovators on the impact they're making in sectors such as transportation, where James is from. We have Medtech, we have agriculture and food, and how that is shaping our future economy and what they look like when they look for when they hire. So without further ado, my name is Victor. I'm Director of Venture Investing here at SGInnovate. I will quickly introduce all my panelists and get them to do a short 30-second intro of themselves. First, we have James Fu, who is Director of Technology at Nutonomy. Hi, James.
Hi. Thank you, Victor.
You want to do a quick 30-second intro of yourself?
Sure. I'm James. I'm at Motional. We used to be a startup called Nutonomy. We were acquired in 2017 by Delphi, which renamed themselves as Aptiv. Aptiv has just went into a joint venture with Hyundai Motor Group, and we started a joint venture called Motional just as a few months ago. I'm the Director of Technology. I'm also the lead for the Strategic Projects Architecture Group. And at Motional, we are focusing on driverless vehicles for mobility on demand. Or you can think of it as all the technology that's required to enable a robo-taxi fleet. We're doing that from the AI in the car to fleet management to simulations to mapping, lots of things. Yep.
Super awesome. Thank you. Thanks, James. Next, we have Grace Chia, who's co-founder at BeeX Autonomous Systems. Hi, Grace. Good morning. Could you share a bit more about yourself?
Morning, everybody. My name is Grace. So I'm the CEO of BeeX. BeeX designs and manufactures autonomous underwater vehicles, primarily to do underwater inspections way more efficiently than existing methods. So we built the robots here in Singapore. And we also continually deploy autonomous behaviors and improve their software within. So we do a lot of vehicle dynamic simulation, and after that, the physical simulation of mission underwater as well.
Wow, super cool. Okay, next we have Associate Professor Ang Wei Tek, who is the Executive Director at the Rehabilitation Research Institute of Singapore and Associate Professor of the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at NTU. Prof. Ang, good morning. Could we have a short intro by yourself?
Morning, Victor. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm a roboticist by training. So I've been using robotics technology in biomedical applications. So in my early days, I built a robot to help surgeons to do microsurgery. And I also built a robot that can perform cell micromanipulation with targeted IVF procedures. So in my recent years, we are focusing a lot more on using robotics and the usual Industry 4.0 technologies, IoT, big data, AI, to target rehabilitation. So in particular, we're looking at aging population and how big data, how robotics can help people in that domain. So the institute right now we have multidisciplinary people from the clinical side and also from the technical side. So it's a challenging and exciting field to be in. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Prof. And last but not least, we have Gary. Gary Low, who's the founder and chairman of DiMuto. Morning, Gary.
Thanks, Victor. Hi, good morning. So my name is Gary and I'm founder in DiMuto. So what we're trying to do is basically solve a problem of my years as being 15 years in finance and 10 years almost like a fruit seller. So the big problems in our food trade and our food supply is really not being able to see what you move. And actually what we're doing is try to get rid of the messy middle. So we're putting a lot more things like IoT and getting it onto the cloud, putting it onto the blockchain, getting all the AI necessary. There's a lot of this trust issues in the global trade, especially in the middle, because a lot of things is being delivered, but people are not clear what actually is being delivered at the end. And there's always this issue of uncertainty and mistrust. So we're putting this together, getting the data, and then eventually making sure that the money flow backwards to the right people at the right time. So that's our focus. Thanks, Gary.
Wow. Okay. So we have some we have a lot of experience here on the panel, right? And I think everyone's going to benefit super a lot from this discussion. So before I begin, maybe just for everyone who's tuning in, do note that you can ask questions towards the end of the session, right? So please think about the questions you have, put it down, and later on we'll field them towards the end of the session. And guys in the panel, keep this casual. It's super early in the morning. I think all of us are still trying to get there, right? So okay, come. Let's start simple, right? So the first question for everyone is, as a founder and innovator, right? Could you describe a bit more how you started on your journey? Like why are you doing what you do today? Okay, let's switch it around. So maybe now we start with Gary. Come, let's start with you.
Yeah. Well, my journey started kind of like again, everything seems to be accidental. So I was trying to deal with this problem of knowing what was I moving, because most of the time I do know what's moving, but I don't really know the condition of the goods. So we run a huge operation running fruits from basically global food sourcing. So fruits and vegetables and meat and fish, and you're moving volumes in container loads of it. But when we arrive on destination, there's always this issues that people on the ground says, hey, whatever we receive is not exactly what was actually supposed to be packed. And this journey became, I got a fancy ERP system, I used all the best names. I could see the data of what was moving, but I couldn't see the condition of the goods that was actually moving. And this journey started off in a way where the solution needed something that you have to combine everything rather than silo approach, right? Because it's sort of like a simple problem, but yet it requires you to merge all the tech together. And sometimes when you see different tech people speak to each other, they seem to be a bit obsessive of their tech is better than others. Well, we are more obsessive of the fact that let's find a solution. So anyway, that journey sort of prompted me to set off on my own and make sure that we actually achieve this. And one of the biggest problem, I think, is technology is great, but at the same time, we're kind of cognizant of the fact that everybody wants traceability and visibility, but then the supply chain don't really want to pay for it. So this is something that we need to know, is to get the efficiency back so that we can actually pay for what we are doing. So that's sort of like my journey, Victor.
So sum it up. I guess it's more to solve your own problem, right? You face a huge problem in your process as an entrepreneur, and now you're trying to solve that problem, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I like that, because you're exactly right. I didn't build a dream solution. I actually was trying to build a solution to get rid of my nightmare.
Nice. Okay, thanks, Gary. Prof, maybe you could share with us a bit about your journey. You've covered quite a number of different areas, and how did you get started?
Well, I guess I knew that I was going to be an engineer since my teens. So I just like moving parts. I can stand the comics of you pull a cord and then something drop and then a bird fly and then suddenly this thing. And then you do simple stuff like brushing your teeth. So I can stare at the comics for minutes since young. And since very young, I knew that I'm going to do engineering. It's just which part of engineering. So as I grew, then it became clearer and clearer that robotics is the way to go. But that was more than 20 years ago, where robotics and AI was in its infancy stage. So that was naive time, and I thought that I wanted to start a company to build robots. So I studied hard, and then I did my master's in robotics, and I thought at that time that's not enough. So I went on to the US to do my PhD in Carnegie Mellon, the best place to do robotics. I came back, I thought that I know enough robotics to conquer the world. But at that point in time, it was not conducive to start any company, which was my initial goal. Then having nowhere to turn to, I joined NTU to teach as a faculty member, and I've been there ever since. So I guess me being an engineer to build stuff has been there since young. But why pick this area to focus on is really that we from the tech side, right? We always say that we have the solution.
Yep.
So then where do you find a problem to solve? So I think healthcare is really a good sector where you have so many problems unsolved, and is really so rich in problems that you can spend a whole life solving them, and then it's still not enough.
Yep.
So in the recent years, I moved away from surgery, which is going to help one or two people to say that perhaps I should do more mass population type of technology. So then we focus a lot more assistive technology. Then we focus more on rehabilitation. But then in recent years, you will see that, right? Rehab is something that after people hit with trauma, then you try to help people. In fact, a lot of the techniques that we're doing, right, we can even prevent people from going down this route. Using AI and those things, right? We can really see, right? So you continue to work like that in the next 20 years, it's going to get NEO-A. So we have the technology and know-how to really see people 20 years before they say, hey, you are having a high risk factor by doing so. So that really prompt this journey to be more and more exciting, that with getting like-minded people to get together, define the solution, and then we do proposal to build new technology. Hopefully some of this technology can roll out to become products. I mean, I have started my own company. I am raising fund now for my surgical robotic company that I built a prototype, and we are in the process of doing human trial. So exciting. So I'm both an entrepreneur and still wearing the hat of a professor in this field.
Wow, so someone with passion for the area that he's in, who's trying to build something that can serve a large population.
Well, I mean, I mean that. Well, to me, right, being a professor, we publish, right. I've come to some point that publication is just publication will take care of itself, right. So to me, the highest level of being a professor is for invention to go out to serve the world. Well, I mean, at the same time, you make yourself more money. Why not? Right.
Yeah. Of course. I think that's important, right? I mean, we're all in it to make sure that we are minimally self-sustainable on our own.
Right. I am not here to just to save the world. I may save the world at the same time to make some money as well.
No. I'm on the same page, man. Thank you, Prof. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Yeah. Maybe you could also share with us, from your view, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I have always been interested in engineering since I was young as well, and I matriculated into NUS as a mechanical engineer because I like to build things. But the problem was that during my own education back like 8 years ago, applied engineering is not something that is very focused on. There was no SUTD, there was no like applied engineering as a focus. It was more focused on the theoretical side. So after I went for exchange overseas, I decided that I should take charge of my own learning journey. And together with a bunch of friends, we decided to take part in an autonomous underwater vehicle competition held here in Singapore. And we were very lucky that the industry supported us and they flew us over to the US to compete on the bigger stage. And when we were there, we realized that, hey, actually, we can actually make an impact in the world. The stuff that we build is actually not that bad. Even though we are just undergrads, we were competing against masters and PhD students, very well-funded research labs. And then we were still able to win the competition and advance our technology over the years. Now, within the university in NUS, we provide a platform for students to gain engineering skill sets. And at the same time, BeeX is the commercialization arm. So we spin off from the university as a startup and commercialize the tech. So for what we do, I felt that because after I graduated, I didn't immediately start the company. I worked for MNC for 5 years, and I was actually working with startups from Europe, from the US, from Norway. These are the countries that are primarily more prominent in the underwater space because of their geographical background in developing the oil and gas industry. And I realized that a lot of technologies is actually not suitable for Asia. And because their technologies was too expensive, a lot of the users in Asia had to make a choice between using technology to improve their operations and doing it a safe way. So they typically kind of go into a balance whereby they are taking a risk. They know that they are taking a risk. And it's just that, they feel that the technology that is imported is not able to address their needs fully. And I felt that this is a gap, and we should commercialize technology from the university to make an impact right from where we are, so that people in our sector no longer have to make this choice between safety and cost.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you. And James, for you, how did you even get started on the? So James and Grace are both looking at autonomy, right? It's just that your vehicles are different parts of one's on land, one's at sea, right? And so James, how did you get started? I mean, it doesn't seem very intuitive for someone to start working on autonomy in Singapore.
Yeah, actually that's true. And what I'm doing is very, closely related to what Grace is doing. I'm also previously from NUS, from mechanical engineering. Did my PhD in NUS as well. After that, I did my postdoc at Singapore MIT Alliance for Research and Technology, where I was the project lead for the autonomous vehicles group. So, it was largely research.
I think James is having some connection issues. So maybe we'll get James to come back.
But we also understood.
Oh no, he's back. James is back. James, we lost you a bit. It wasn't so autonomous at that moment, but it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No,
do I sound?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe just you. I think we lost you at kind of after you got your PhD.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
US. That one I heard, and then the MIT part as well. I heard that part.
Yeah.
Okay. I did my postdoc at the Singapore MIT Alliance for Research and Technology, where I was the project lead of the autonomous vehicles group. So it was largely research in nature, but we were using Singapore as a case study. So as we all know, the primary reason for 99% of road accidents is due to the human factor, right? So humans being humans, this accident rate will not go down, and so one big impact to address safety is actually autonomy, right? We can make use of driverless vehicles to address safety, and in Singapore in particular, where we have a manpower shortage, this is also it will be a disruptive change in a good way for Singapore. So what led us to realize that we could do a bigger impact is being a research lab, we had to do a lot of demos. So we do demos to visitors, right, to the NRF, who is paying our big our paychecks, and also we did demos to LTA, the public as well.
Yep.
And one of the biggest demos we did was in 2014. We ran buggies in the Chinese and Japanese gardens, giving free rides to the public. And every demo we did, people were excited, but most importantly, people asked us, when will we see this on public roads? When will we see this in Singapore?
Yep.
And then, when you keep hearing this question over and over again, and then you realize that, as a research institute, we can only do demos at most, right? We can't make it happen, right? And once we had a pretty large group, over time we were all excited. Let's really think about how we can do this. An opportunity came, where when our professor told us, let's do a startup, right? And then he would bring in money, and then the core group of us in Singapore could actually start working on this. And this is how it all happened.
Nice.
I would say it's the opportunity presented itself, and I think we were very fortunate to be there at the right time to enter into it.
Thanks, James. And so listening to all your sharings, there seems to be a common thread, right? I think everything that you're doing actually has some kind of impact, right? Into larger society, right? Whether it's using autonomy, to increase safety, right? To using for Gary, to using your system to actually provide traceability, yeah, and also accountability in the food trade, right? To Prof Ang, right? In the medical work that you've been doing, and currently looking at rehabilitation, which I think in all aging societies is going to be a major cause of concern. So there is a very strong purpose and I would say impact that factors into kind of like what you're doing, right? So as you think about what you're developing, right? Do you Okay, the next question is quite generic, right? It's to everyone. What are the kinds of people that you're looking, right, to help you in this journey, right? Because we have technical roles, we have non-technical roles. So in along the process, what do you think are the roles that you're looking for now, right? And as your company starts or your organization starts to grow, what are some of the roles that you're looking for to hire in the future? Right, so I'll let this one, anyone fastest fingers first, whoever wants to jump on can jump on, and we'll just have a discussion around this.
Okay, yeah, happy to go first.
Yeah.
So because we deal in all sorts of technologies, right, from motion planning to perception, computer vision, machine learning, a lot of data as well, right? So we require data scientists, and and everything that's running in the car is all C++. So we need really good programmers that's good at programming. So there's all sorts, but the most important
Okay.
He froze at the most important
okay.
moment.
I think that's meant to be a cliffhanger, so he's gonna surprise you guys later. Okay.
You gotta know.
say this,
Yeah,
because the problem we're dealing is
Hey, James.
I'm so sorry once again.
James,
Okay,
we lost you at the most important moment.
You paused at the best time, right? So what is the most important part that you wanted to share?
I would say the most important aspect is because the problem we are dealing is largely it's still an open problem. It's not well formulated, right? So we have to be very adaptive. You need to be able, even if you're from a machine learning background, you need to be able to pick up new skills, just to explore the boundaries. So I'd say when we're interviewing people, see a lot of things I ask, especially for fresh grads. I ask them, can you show me what projects you did that is not part of your curriculum? Can you show me what projects that you did out of your spare time? And even people who say, oh, I wanted to automate my own house, and therefore I started looking into microcontroller programming. So these are the kind of skills that stood out. This is the kind of it shows that a person is willing to take self-initiative to learn new things, and that's the kind of skill we actually need. Very important.
Nice. How about you, Grace?
I think James largely mentioned the same stuff. The technical skills we always feel that can be trained, but a person's mindset is something that is very difficult to train, right? Problem solving, initiative. I think what especially here right now, I think what most people are struggling is for all their lives they have always been told that there's a yes or no. But when you work in this kind of space, there is no right answer. And so it's difficult for people, it's difficult for me when I first started to deal with uncertainty and failure, because all of our lives, we probably, to get into university, you had to study very hard and then do all the right things, but when you can actually come out to the technology space, especially for technology space, that you need to deal with this unknowns. And you need to constantly challenge yourself to explore what are the methods that can be used to address these unknowns.
Yeah. And Gary, in your area, right? So I mean, yours is a little different from what Grace and James are looking at. So what are some of the roles that you think will be helpful in terms of helping DiMuto to grow? And
I think it's a good point.
It's similar to what you're looking for also.
No, I think it's slightly different in the sense the characteristics are the same. I think we are all looking, but whether is it a a new tech on an old tech, like where agriculture has been around for thousands of years, you know, but the mindset that Grace and James are talking about is the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad in many ways, and I hope the ministers and people in the education system is listening in, that we do need some change. And I think Prof is really one of those key people in NTU leading the way, that there is a different change of mindset, that what you do and what you basically learn is like what something that you need to create certain things. And I follow James' theory. When I ask an interview, I don't look at your grades as grades per se, because like what Grace says about yes and no, it's not about the yes and no anymore. It's really about, is this apple okay or this avocado okay or not, right? It's quite simple. How do you make it sure that you can, right? It's quite simple, basic certain things, and people are saying, hey, I need structure. Tell me what to do. Give me an SOP. Tell me this, tell me that. Then we can do things, you know. Oh, but you don't have this, you don't have that. Look, we run from the biggest companies to the smallest. I'm now back in the startup after all these years, and I think it's really one of those things is that from an employer perspective, to say to somebody, can you please leave the luggage that you bring to the table, you know, just leave it there and don't use it, right? Try trying to brainwash our team. But I hope we can start them younger, right? I hope the James and the Grace could do this when 17 years old, when they are A-levels or before A-levels, right? And have such opportunity to go and play and have fun. And I think this is what we need to have. And this is the same mindset, like what Grace says. The mindset is so key.
Thanks, Gary. And Prof. Ang, for you, you know, like, so you're slightly different also, because you come from an academic background, you know, and the projects you're working on are a little different from what the guys above are doing. So for your case, you know, what are some of the profiles that you're looking for to join you and to help you, you know, achieve what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I guess many people here are also in a startup. I also run a startup. So when I hire for a startup and I hire for my institute, I think I'm looking at slightly different qualities. Okay. So for startup, really, you want people to be creative. You may not be looking at grades. So I will hire the person that dress a Bermuda and slippers to come to interview, and then say that they want to do something special. I will hire people like that. But then when you run an organization of 100 over people under university, you need some kind of order there. If people turn up for engineer job in an organization like this, then you know that the person may not fit in too well. Because I mean as management is not only that you want this person to grow, there's also an order to be maintained there to balance the needs of everybody. Especially for what we're doing here is really multidisciplinary. A lot of clinical people, people that are coming from different backgrounds. So if I'm wearing the hat as an institute director, so really I'm looking at people that can cross the border of what you have learned and then to go over to the other side to understand what the other side is all about. Multidisciplinary is really the way to go. So we might have compartmentalized ourselves a little bit too much in our traditional education, such that you learn only one dimension. So I guess now there's a lot of good efforts in both NUS, NTU, and also especially SUTD to really break out the mold and then to really do something quite different. But there's always trade-off, right? There's trade-off. So when you become more of a generalist, you try to learn everything. Then the skills that you're supposed to make a living off, the deep skills has to be compromised. So we understand that. But however, I mean, we also understand that if you go too deep into a skill, so when things change, right, it's harder for you to get out of what you have learned and then to learn the new things. So it's really everything that we're trying to do, right, is really a trade-off. And I think different parts of the organization, different types of organization are looking for different qualities. Of course, startup, you want people to really brave a mold, trying to adapt to change. But then if you want to do research, you really don't want people to go too broad. You want people to go deeper, right? So research. So really, we are looking at different qualities. But I think the key thing I want to make here is that no matter what we do, be able to adopt, to embrace things that are beyond what you have learned, to go multidisciplinary. So those are the key. Those are key to make it in the next wave, I think.
Thanks, Prof. So I guess the red timer is like staring in my face, right? And then we have a minute left. So I'm gonna just quickly summarize a bit of what you guys have shared in the final part, right? Which I guess people need to understand the context, right, of the organization they're going to be working for, and understand whether or not it's a fit for them also, right? So some people may like to work in a more structured environment. Some prefer a bit more laissez-faire kind of organization. So I think yeah, and I like your idea about having multidisciplinary skills, right? I mean, we do need specialists and people who can do deep dives in specific areas, but I think there is room for folks with a more generic skill set. So I think there's a lot of graduates, right, who are not from the engineering field. And their key worry will be, oh, jalat, I have engineering degree, can I do a non-engineering job? Would I be good at it? So I think there's this kind of worry, right? Because they are engineers and they are non-engineers, but I think there are people who are, but maybe what if they're both interested in deep tech or participating in technology? What can they do, right? So maybe just to end off, I have 15 seconds left. What is one good word of advice in sentence, right, that you can share, to everyone here today, as to how they can make life better for themselves, as they go through this journey. Let's start with okay, Grace. Come.
I always use this phrase called "dare mighty things." I think we need to challenge ourselves, just break through whatever we have been taught. Yeah, so I think that's important to craft out the future that we want for ourselves.
Beautiful. Okay. James.
Well, I think you have to keep trying. Try fast, fail fast, and get up fast. That I think that's the main thing.
Yep. Thank you. And Gary.
Agile. I mean, agility. I think it's a underplayed word. I mean, it's important. I think to be dynamic and agile and adaptable. I think it's the key few words. I can't use one word, but I guess I'm adding a few more words. Yeah.
Okay. And Prof.
Be brave. Don't be afraid to try something new.
Okay. So I like the optimism, and I like the this mix of happy messages. So I think it's important, right, as we are going through a very extraordinary period of time in the world. A lot of people are looking don't have jobs, looking for jobs. We have fresh graduates. We want to make sure that everyone comes in with the right attitude and also with the right mindset. Okay, so thanks so much for the discussion. I'm going to go into the Q&A. So we have some questions that have been pinned up. Okay, we'll start with the first one, and this one is free for all, guys. Just shoot. Okay, what are some qualities that you see in high performing employees?
Well, I'll take the thing because we've hired like what? So I've run finance companies and we in financial services, and then we run listed companies, and then I'm now running startups as well. So I think the high performing part really is someone who listens and understands it and probably approach things in a little bit more holistic, right? They may have a certain skill sets that they bring to the table, but then they basically are able to hear what is going on outside of it. It's like a good soccer player. You can't just be a left wing not knowing what the field is all about, and how to score the goal. I think the good players are not about just the skill sets of handling the ball, but knowing where to put the right ball at the right place at the right time with the right players. I think that kind of game theory that sometimes people say play games no good, but maybe some of the things is that just playing football could actually be good, and showing that skill sets like this is very important, and the right mindset to actually tackle certain things, seeing things outside of what you see in your immediate field is actually a very, very key performance indicator for us as employers.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because we have a lot of questions. So the next one is pretty good. Second one is it's great to hear that the ability to think out of the box, to look for solutions that is not linear centric. I believe this requires the individual to have experience to conduct this approach. Does the panel see the attractiveness of a mid-career change person in this aspect? If yes, what is your advice for such an individual to join the deep tech industry?
Okay, I can take that question because we do have, we do look at some mid-career people to come in to help us grow, especially on the non-technical side. But I think one of the advice is that I think Gary mentioned leaving luggage at the door. Yeah, it's very important to be able to adapt to a new culture, and the adaptability is something that is very difficult to I can say, but it's very difficult to train it, and it just requires constant effort on both sides. So I think usually what happens is that it might be better to just go for a 3-month kind of like get to know each other better before you even commit to the full thing. I think it's better for the individual. It's also better for the organization.
Interesting. And for the rest of you, do you think that it requires some maturity to be able to think out of the box, or is it just an innate kind of like, well, this person just has it, just can, in your experience, what have you seen?
Maybe I can take that. So we are running a multidisciplinary team. So we get mid-career switch people to come to us very often. So when we are hiring these people, we always look at what are the unique things that these people can bring to the table. So because in fact, a lot of things that we do now in research, we do not know what we do not know. So by bringing people from other sectors, give us a fresh perspective. So, and then bigger network and all those things. So really, I really welcome people with good diverse background to join us. So we have people, the techie staff, that those is harder for the mid-career switch people to come into because they don't have the prior training. And then being at this age, it's really not easy to learn a new skills that is in tech. However, right, not everybody need to be a programmer. Not everybody need to build a robot. So but then there's this team that you need to put together to tackle different parts. People with of some experience, they are more rounded, so they are able to handle the clinical people better. Can handle the patients better. So these are the traits and people that we are looking for.
Interesting. Thank you. Thanks, Prof. The next question is, I just recently graduated with a pure maths degree and econs minor, and I'm currently working now. What should I do to start to approach the deep tech route, or basically going to a technical role, or going into a deep tech type of company? So basically, someone who looks like a liberal arts major, and who wants to get into this industry. Any kind words of advice?
I can share. So one thing I learned so one thing I learned from in the company is in the early days I had this wrong mindset, right? That you had to be from a robotics background to work on autonomous vehicles, right? I had this mindset, a couple of years ago, and the mindset was so strong that I didn't think that a mathematician could do anything. Until a mathematician actually joined us, right? And he proved us wrong, right? He was actually a mathematics professor, zero robotics background. He picked up C++ programming on his own. He became so good that he became the main interviewer when we're interviewing other pure programmers, and he took the time and effort to understand the technology we're doing, and he became so good to the point where he made use of his theoretical, mathematical, meticulous background to properly understand the problem. So one of the biggest challenges about this new technology is the problem formulation, and I believe mathematicians are very good at that, right? So the robotics people are good at just trying and figuring it out, right? But I think people like the pure mathematics and pure physicists, they're good at really going into the fundamentals and understanding the problem. Now, about econs, what's interesting is, a lot of the technology we're working on, we may have a specific or kind of specific application, but sometimes it's also interesting to know what other applications there are. So you probably need a business analyst to search, to understand the market, to see what other applications that possibly can give you some low-hanging fruits.
Yeah. Thank you. And I guess the next panel question is sort of similar, right? And I think we're going to get a lot of these questions, especially since there are a lot of people who are graduating right now and looking for jobs, and tech is actually one of the sectors that's actually doing pretty well, right? So the next one is also similar. I have a business and accountancy degree, so someone without an engineering or tech background, but with limited tech in the background, right? So how can I use my current skill set to join the deep tech industry? So I think we're going to get more of these questions, right?
Maybe I can take that. I mean,
Yeah.
I really see a lot of this of my students that are graduating that ask me question like this.
Perfect.
I think my simple answer to them is that when you have you spend 4 years in the university, by the time that you graduate, for the boys is 25 years old after NS, for the girls 22, 23. And for sure for your age, right, you're going to retire at 70 years old. So there's going to be a 48 years, 45 years ahead of you. What does this 4 years of training mean in the whole life of this or next 40 years, right? So this lifelong learning thing is true, and then it's real. So that your first degree doesn't define you. So if you truly want to learn something new and get into the tech sector, get on with it. I mean, if this journey takes another 3 years for you to learn a new skill, you start today. Tomorrow is 3 years less 1 day. If not, then you're just forever waiting for that 3 years to come. Just I always say that you guys are young, right? What's wrong with you putting in more effort? You have 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I mean, don't tell me that you have no time. So just go ahead and learn. I mean, just go ahead with it. The first degree doesn't define.
I'd like to share. Yeah, I'd like to add to Prof. Right, I think same point. I think for the young people, people like us who's really more than 45 years in the industry with 30 years of experience already working. I mean, I think passion is really the key, not your, like what Prof says, not your degree that defines you, it's your passion and what you want to do. And not because deep tech is the hip word to use right now, therefore everybody is coming in. I think you really need to go by a passion, even whether you're interested in food or whether you're interested in health or you're interested in transportation or you're interested in space. I mean, there's so many things that you can be learning, and this lifelong journey is really, I don't know anything about quantum computing, but the good thing about it is I don't need to go to the library now. I just go through YouTube videos and I learn, whoa, I also know what quantum computing is all about. But it's really about the passion, right? And I think that's going to be your most important graduation gift, right? Be passionate about what you want to do, and then know that it's a long journey.
Thanks, Gary, and thanks, Prof. I totally resonate with that, okay, so next question is: it was mentioned that tech requires one to deal with much uncertainty, right? Could the panelists give an example of this uncertainty, right, and how you or others have personally addressed the issue?
Okay, I can share a little bit with our experience. So when we started to want to build autonomous underwater vehicles, we needed to challenge the can go and look at. There are research papers that you can refer to, but a lot of it is still up in the air. And the other thing is that there's so many integrated things of a robot that you need to look at every different aspects. And when you drill down to it, you realize that sometimes you cannot get what you need in the market as well. So you have to come up with it yourself. And how we address it is we just keep trying. I'm not interested in or as a team, right? We are not interested in succeeding on the first time. We are more interested in how fast we can recover from our failure and how fast we can iterate. Whether we are learning from the lessons that we have had on the previous failure, right? So for my team, we started off with just pure buying a lot of components from outside, and then after that, we moved into doing deeper analysis of this part, and then after that, testing it, buying our own testing equipment to do the testing so that we can iterate faster. So that's our learning journey as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Grace. Next question. How would a mid-career change person with a background in biology? Wow, so the questions are quite similar, right? So yeah, I think it's the panelists have kind of shared, in terms of I think it's more of an approach, right? More of your attitude, more of how you believe that you can be relevant in a job that you don't have an educational background in. And maybe are there any other wise words of advice for someone from a totally unrelated background, getting into the technology field? Gary, yeah, and
Yeah,
adding on to everything that's been said so far, I think, yeah. What else can you share, Gary?
no, because for me, when I went from finance 15 years to go into farming, it's like two extreme level, right? And then from a listed company to a startup, right? Well, I don't really see whether I might mid-career or whatever it is, right? I just see the situation. I'm going into it, get used to it, and turn adjusted to this. I don't know anything about fertilizers. I don't know anything about trees. But like what all the panelists are talking about, as long as you understand the situation and look at it, right? Your degree don't define you. Your experience of where you work doesn't really define you. But understanding problem and problem solving and not getting the answers right at the first time. I think Grace talked it very well. I find that sometimes when you're too successful, people are too obsessed with getting it right at the first time. But it doesn't, right? It's like what you say, the attitude. So mid-career switch or not career switch, I don't think it's a hindrance. I think it's a great thing to embrace it. Just go in with a clean slate. But you bring certain experience that the people who are young and very focused on their experience will not be so experienced in other areas that you are in. So you do bring things onto the table. So don't be afraid about it.
I have something I wanted to add about this because I'm not young, not old. So like,
Young lah.
when
Young lah, to us you're young.
I remember in the 1997 financial crisis, my own parents, had to deal with economy that just crashed, right? All the jobs that was here kind of like disappeared, and people had to craft out their own story. They have to adapt to the environment at that point in time and just learn new skills. There's no such thing as mid-career or whatever, because there is nothing and we have to create something. And I think the Singapore as a country is too successful and it makes it difficult to really be passionate about something. And when I mean passionate about something, I realized when I first graduated, I read this magazine. It digs down into the word passion in the first place. The origin of passion is actually to want to suffer for something. It's not just like something you're interested in, not just, I think I'm this is a hot area, I think I want to do well in it. It's something that you have to develop a heart for. You want to do it even if you're failing a lot of times. You want to do it even when you cannot see the end of the tunnel. Okay, you can probably see a little bit of light, but you have to be willing to suffer. Your family, your friends have to be willing to support you. And I think we are all in this together right now. I mean, we are all going through change that is, a type of economical situation that we have never seen before in our lives. And it's now just time for us to up our game and individually all contribute to our society and not just wait for other people to come and save us. Nobody is going to come to save us. We need to save ourselves.
Yeah, Greta, I have something to add as well. I think from the practical side of things, right, passion cannot feed the family.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be practical as well. So I think the advice given to people with different stages of a career might be different. Those people that asked the question was people that just graduated. Then I always say that, what's wrong with you? Why can't you work harder, right? But then with talking with people, I mean, you hit the 40s, right? You are already deep skills in whatever you have to learn. Then if you join a deep tech industry, right, it should be something that you're already good at, and then you add value from a new perspective. So the most awkward one are people perhaps 8-9 years with experience, probably in early 30s. Mid-30s, these are the people that really think, as I started a family, I bills to pay. Then what should I do? Should I just dump everything that I've learned and go into a new field, which seems to be growing? And then I got to be reset again. And who will give me this opportunity to go ahead to enter this field? For me, it's difficult for me to, like a fresh graduate, to learn another 3 years, another deep skill. So all these are really practical considerations. That's why I mean, I see this question here different from those that we have answered. I think for this question, right, I think if you want to go into deep tech, you have to find the niche that you can bring on board as well. If you are in the pharma company, perhaps you should join more biotech company rather than joining a robotics, something that you can leverage on, something that people wish to give you a chance to get started. Then once you bring in, again, right, from your own perspective, right, add value from your own unique perspective, then that's a start. Just prepare to start lower and then to climb all your way up again. But I think I must appreciate that people in that career phase are quite awkward, I must say.
I think a lot of people do advisory roles though on the weekends, like so aligning yourself to a role that Prof you mentioned is like they are good at, and then advising younger companies to kind of help us overcome the problems that we have not actually seen. And I think younger startups will also benefit from this, and as a collective whole, we can move together much faster. I think younger startups also don't really adopt this like advisory and mentorship approach enough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually,
yeah, sorry, James.
Actually, there's one thing I want to add on is about data analytics, right? So we have every big company has a lot of data. Sometimes we don't know how best to use it, and this requires domain expertise, right? In other words, if I'm a pure programmer with just data analyst background, and I go into a pharmaceutical company, I may not know exactly what kind of features I'm looking out for. It's very different from someone from a pharma background who picks up data analytics skills, and then to look at the data, he'll see things differently, right? So I would say, one practical is to pick up, how to use data, and this is something, it's easier on the programming side. And what's also interesting is if you go to data.gov.sg, the Singapore government actually does put a lot of open source data out there. Right, and if you are from a certain background and you look at the data and you can immediately have a sense, oh, I think I know what this means, right? So that's already a good starting point. And the next thing you just need to do is pick up some simple programming skills to scrub the data.
I think for me what I take out of the 8 to 9 years experience is actually a lot of value, because one of the things that we always talk about is that in our sector, is because it's a fairly new sector, there's not enough people with experience. There's a lot of people with great skill sets, but not enough people with the right experience to actually help to think about the problem in a more experienced way, right? So I think there and bio is a big upcoming area, or rather it is a big area now, right? So I don't think that you would have that much issues. Just make sure you keep your eyes open and be more flexible. Last question, okay, guys. We have maybe 1 minute. So how can high school students and college freshmen contribute at startups? So this is the opposite end, where someone who has totally no experience, but
enjoy your childhood. Enjoy your childhood first.
Yeah, enjoy your childhood. Yeah, man. Wow. No, but so how does someone who comes in totally fresh, with no experience, no networks, how can they contribute at startups? Okay, we have 40 seconds to answer this question. Come on, guys.
Do your internship there. Internship. Yeah.
Internships.
We like interns.
Exactly, internship.
Yeah, and I think that internship will give you a good sense of how it feels like to work at a particular type of company also, right? You may like to work at a small company, maybe you hate working in a startup because it's so random. Any other thoughts from the rest of the panel before I close it off? No? Okay, so I think my time is up. I want to thank my panelists, Prof, Gary, James, Grace for being here with us today, and I wish everyone here, an awesome day, looking for new opportunities, and look forward to catching with you in real life. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all our panelists. Well, I hear that they ended on a note of internships. So for any of you who are students or fresh grads looking for internships like that, SGInnovate has Summation and Infinity series that you absolutely need to check out. So look for our colleagues at the SGInnovate booth to find out more.